Can you bank on AI? Can we rely on AI as a technology?
I think AI is not really a choice. It gives you insights which you never thought would be available.
Is there fear in the organization for implementing AI? Like, what's the general perception?
If the bot hallucinates and ends up committing a wrong premium, I mean, imagine the reputational risk that the enterprise has to face.
What kind of ROI have you seen across your AI implementations?
So our overall conversion actually, especially on the investment business and even on the term business, has gone up almost by 25-30% thanks to some of these deployments. So really, we've had our bang for the buck actually completely vasoolod. I think the most powerful use case for a financial services enterprise lies in.
Hello, everyone. This is Aman Goel. I'm the co founder and CEO of Greylabs AI. Today, we have Mr. Vaibhav Kumar. He's the head of product, e commerce, and enterprise center of excellence at Axis Max Life Insurance. So, Vaibhav, warm welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aman. Thank you very much.
Yes, so Vaibhav, as Siddharth was here. He's our director of marketing. We were just talking. So Siddharth and I were discussing about many times our customers ask us, "Can you bank on AI? Can we rely on AI as a technology?" So we said, why not start a series with the name of Banking on AI? इसके दो पर्पस हो गए. एक, द रिलायबिलिटी क्वेश्चन, कैन आई बैंक, कैन आई ट्रस्ट एआई, एंड सेकंड बिकॉज ग्रे लैब्स इज इनटू बैंकिंग एंड फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज, तो वो बैंकिंग का कीवर्ड वहां पे आ गया. सो आई फाउंड दिस नेम वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग.
Very
आई
smart,
सेड
actually.
लेट्स डू इट. सो इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर सीरीज called Banking on AI, which we will be, where we will be sharing more stories about how enterprises are using AI. So excellent, and very excited about this. So, Vaibhav, for the understanding of the audience, would love if you can talk about आपका role क्या है Max Life में? How have your journey been? You've been a part of the company for a long time, is what we all know. But would love to know कि आपका role क्या है exactly? What do you do? And then please talk a bit about digital sales as a channel. How important is it for the institution?
Thank you. Sure, Aman. Thank you very much for having me here on this one. Super excited to be apparently the first podcast that you guys are recording. So I'm very happy about it. Well, my name is Vaibhav to all my audience here. I'm currently heading products, new product development, as well as product launches. I am part of the e-commerce engine, the digital sales engine of the company, as well as an enterprise COE function, which is a central enterprise function where we try and debottleneck or accelerate some of the transformation initiatives across the enterprise. It's been a fantastic journey for me at Axis Max Life. This is the only place I have worked with since I graduated from my B school.
Wow.
I've spent close to 17 years here doing various roles, various levels. I worked in distribution, I worked in marketing, I worked a small stint in operations. I've done product designing, product launches, built a completely new channel along with a very smart team on online sales. And really, it's been a very, very fruitful and satisfying journey so far. Digital sales or e-commerce, very interesting, Aman. In the life insurance context, if you just step out and look at what the regulator or the government wants is insurance for all by 2047, right? The idea is to multiply the penetration of life insurance across the entire geography of India and across different socioeconomic classes by the time we reach 100 years of our independence as a country, and we are significantly underinsured as a country today. Now, if you just zoom out and say what are the three large segments of this life insurance user or a consumer, as we say, there's typically these assistance seekers, right, or support seekers, I would say, who really do not know what exactly do they need in life insurance business, how to arrive at the right life cover, what are the financial goals, and how they can solve their financial goals through, systematic and disciplined savings. Then there is this is one large dominant persona. Then there is another persona which is assistance seeker and not a support seeker. They have broad understanding, they use certain platforms, but when it comes to financial services or typically insurance, they would prefer someone to interact in person, right? And then there is this third emerging consumer persona that we picked up some 7-8 years back, which we call as the independent. Okay,
Okay.
very interesting consumer persona, typically aged 25 to 35, lives his life on mobile and tablets. Typically hasn't gone to a bank branch for ages, just like you and me. Doesn't even know how a branch looks. Some of them, when we talk to them, prefers the entire financial services delivery on their mobile phone or at max telephonically. And this independent consumer persona has clear, sharp needs, has articulation of what they need, but typically wants some bit of digital advisory on these products and services, and then prefers to buy the entire product or a service on her own, end to end, including doing digital KYCs and the entire fulfillment process. Now this independent now with the growth of this persona and unbelievable powerful digital stack that the government of India has equipped all franchises with. It was a perfect overlap in terms of building this new age digital or e-commerce life insurance business. And that's when we started this journey. It's been fantastic. We've grown up some 10x in about 5 6 years.
Wow.
Very fast growth, reasonably large sized in terms of our business today. We contribute close to 14 15% of the company's APE, and almost one third of new to Max Life Access Max Life customers walk through the digital door. So it's been a very, very high growth engine that we've been working with. Clearly, the number of customers have been growing who operate in this persona of independent, and the products and services that we offer today to these
Right.
this segment or this persona of consumers is slightly different from what we offer into the other two personas. So really, that really is, and the industry has been growing at certain rate, and we've been very fortunate at Access Max Life that our online business has been growing almost 4 times of the industry growth. So it's been a very interesting run so far.
Nice, nice. And I think you mentioned, right, ki 8 to 9 years back is when the digital journey of Max Life
Yes.
really started. I'll add a small anecdote. About 9 years back, I was in college. That's when I bought my first term life insurance as per recommendation from my father, and that was from Max Life Insurance. That's my first ever insurance policy, health, life, etc., whatever you call it. So I was fairly young, early 20s, and it was a smooth journey. I just went to the website, I just purchased it. It was very straightforward. Of course, I carry that policy till date with me. So, a proud customer of Max Life Insurance.
And I must thank you for being a customer. Thank you
Yes,
very much, Aman.
yes. So, very interesting, Vaibhav. I think 4x growth compared to the industry is really insane. And I think what I know, I've spoken with so many insurers. What I've seen generally, 2 or 3% is what the share of digital business is in most of the companies. And what I hear is it's about 15% for you. So that's quite large. So talk about what all have you done to make it happen compared to the industry norm. What sort of technology initiatives, what sort of business models, what sort of
So
AI initiatives? Yeah.
yeah, I think to start with, very interesting. See, this entire online is businesses can be segmented into two large parts.
Okay.
One is primarily working with these really powerful aggregations or aggregators like Policy Bazaar and other new emerging platforms, where you have to ensure that your product, process, and technology are absolutely top notch in order to have a competing run with these aggregators. But I would rather focus on the other part, which is more proprietary in nature, which is
Okay.
reasonably large size, which is our own platform, our own D2C platform.
Right.
I think there, if you look at the standard marketing funnel, I still am a believer or a lover of the good old marketing funnel of awareness, interest, decision, and action, the IDA model. And across all the elements of the funnel, I think there's a lot of capability building and investments that any enterprise needs to do in order to build this proprietary D2C platform. Starting with awareness, I think you need to have a very strong performance marketing team and a very strong creative. Actually, in the new world, creative is the new hero. Performance marketing has really been overtaken by AI, as we all know now, right? So you need to have the smartest creative engine, folks who can really generate logical and consumer-facing, compelling storyboards. In terms of attracting traffic, you need to have a very strong technology team that powers your SEO engine, that powers your entire consumer journey, that makes sure that the drop-offs are the least and you can eliminate friction at all points in time. At the same time, for once you move to awareness, interest to decision side, you need to have them very powerful products. You need to price them very, in a very competitive manner. You need to ensure that the value delivery to the consumer is of very different order
Right.
versus any other distribution channel. and then the onboarding experience has to be absolutely top class, because the consumers or the users we are dealing with are used to digital platforms when it comes to trading or buying mutual funds,
Right.
and for them just to go through a long proposal form full of information can be a big bottleneck in terms to say what is going on, boss, right? And therefore how to simplify this entire category for this consumer segment is a very important element, a capability that an insurance company needs to build in order to play well. Beyond that, I think fulfilling the promise. See, life insurance is a business of making promises and keeping them. Fulfilling the promises is very important. So, how strong is your claim paid ratio? How strong are your servicing SLAs, servicing elements? That plays a very important role, because we do see a behavior of repeat purchase for these consumers. See, we are catching users or customers at a very young age, right?
Right.
Typically, just about to get married or married with just one child, and there is an entire 3 4 logical discontinuities that this user will face over the next 20 25 30 years, kids
Right.
growing up, and therefore planning for child's education, as children go to college, thinking about retirement and planning for your retirement over a period of time, how to generate wealth and pass on that legacy wealth to your next generation. And life insurance plays very important critical roles in all these 3 4 large logical discontinuities.
Agreed.
So once you catch them, you have to ensure you engage with them very smartly through a very strong customer app platform if possible. You ensure that you provide services, and really in our category, Aman, the service is about just do it right, right? That's the least expectation that the user has. Please don't screw it up for me, right? And I think just make sure that you do the right things at the right time is the most important part in terms of servicing, and then ensure that beyond marketing journey, technology, onboarding, underwriting, you have a very smart central leadership team that has a lot of belief in this category or belief in this model of distribution, because this does require a lot of investment. So we at Axis Max Life are very lucky that our erstwhile CEO, our current CEO, our leadership team, even our shareholders were very committed to growing this emerging segment or emerging channel.
Very nice. Interesting, because yeah, this is unlike traditional distribution channel, and you have to invest on a website journey, on a mobile app journey, all sort of digital platforms. And I think your title, it says e-commerce, so somewhere you compete, not compete, I would say, but the experience expectations of the customer
Absolutely.
are with a comparison to other e-commerce platforms like Amazon, Flipkart. You go there and you click, and that's it. The item is delivered to your home. And with quick commerce coming in, more and more people are becoming aware of the digital commerce, right? So that's interesting. So talk about how technology has played this role. What all have you done in AI, which have helped you improve the conversion funnel, or anything which, double digit percentage is insane, as I said. And please deep dive on that.
I think, Aman, that the technology or the digital part is really core to any online or digital business, right? You can't really build a business without having the smartest technology and the smartest set of folks working on technology. AI, I think, Aman, you yourself have been an absolute inspiration to us at Access Max Live on introducing us to some of the most interesting use cases on insurance. I think AI is not really a choice. I mean, it's who. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, if there's a choice around it. I mean, it's real and here, right? It's the possibly the largest shift that has happened in the world. I think in the modern times in the last few years. I think after internet maybe. So I think for us really leveraging AI has been about 3 or 4 large elements, Aman. The first one is really, I'll start with the easiest one. Equipping our employees, our enterprise, with the world class enterprise approved AI tools so their productivity can be improved multifold, right?
Right.
Because that becomes extremely critical. I mean, the last thing you want is all the employees using, all these AI platforms on their phone and trying to then figure out how to do it right in an unsecured environment. So you
Right.
really can't afford. So that's one large thematic for us at an enterprise level that we've been working very hard on. We've just launched a very interesting AI platform for all our employees who can use multiple models. So that is something that we are looking forward. It's in beta mode right now. The
Nice.
second one for us, really, if I was to segment in thematics, is listening to your customer very carefully.
Okay.
I think that is a very powerful piece. I think all sources of innovation or efficiency really lie in listening to your consumers or your prospects very carefully. I think there multiple use cases emerge from this one single statement, starting with our telesales engine being powered by a speech to text platform. All our analytics, all our conversations have shifted towards that platform instead of, the very common question that any business head has, you know, what are the barriers to conversion? Such a simple question, and every time you ask, you will have a different answer because the answer is a function of the one who's giving it, right? And
Right.
unfortunately, you never know the truth. Now, in this with the speech to text ecosystem in place, where some very smart analytics available, this answer becomes extremely sharp and articulate, and it gives you insights which you never thought would be available, right? And you really get to know what is troubling the consumer, what part of the journey is really troubling the consumer in a very very objective manner. Again, on renewals process, we collect a lot of premiums in the 13th month, and future renewal premiums we collect. We have the same platform deployed. We make sure that we keep listening to the customers at all the time so that we can generate insights which can help us create products, services, or journeys which are more suitable to the consumers. So I think any source of innovation in modern world is about listening to your customer carefully. So that's a second thematic that we are very excited about, or we really want to get obsessed with. The third one, Aman, I think is about operational efficiency. Now, what has happened, I think, over the what I've experienced in the last few years is that actually in the last 2 3 quarters, with the advent of AI use cases and the technology that equips it, and multiple partners that we work with, including yours, right? The most obvious use cases that come right in front of you is automating a manual process, right?
Right.
And I think that's not the best use of AI, honestly. I mean, it's like Einstein, right? You can't make it like a support executive, right? You have an Einstein in front of you. And what has happened is that while those are important use cases, for example, how do you make your underwriting much smarter? How do you make your servicing much smarter? We all know, right? Most of the platforms that we interact with daily, their entire call center or their sales chatbot is all powered by AI. We are not talking to humans, right? We're talking to AI agents, and that's a use case. Again, I think in terms of servicing, operationalizing, and onboarding our customers, that is another third use case that excites us, and we're working towards it. But I don't think it's the most powerful use case.
Okay.
I think the most powerful use case for a financial services enterprise lies in distribution. I
Okay.
think that's the real test for me. When at what point AI ensures the productivity of the last mile seller, right? The person who is on the ground and actually goes and meets consumers for the other two segments I shared, right? The assistance seeker and support seeker. The point when their productivity lifts up multifold and the supervisory layer becomes much more leaner so that that money can further be invested in growing your distribution
Right.
last mile reach without requiring that much supervision, which will be a significant productivity unlock actually, is where I think the real value will lie, and that is the real test of AI for me on financial services. The point at which, because see, this category will be powered by AI, but will AI replace this category altogether? I think that's not going to happen, because it is a very immersive conversation to talk about life
Right.
insurance. The fear of death is a very difficult conversation,
True.
right? Humans find it difficult. Imagine a bot doing it, right? I can understand the bots are as smart as humans nowadays, but this whole, meeting a client, understanding their family, understanding their financial goals, doing a fact finding process, and eventually, किसी तरह का advice देना, काम का advice देना, logical advice देना, that will still stay. And how you use AI to unlock productivity, whether it is in terms of how to approach a customer, to in terms of what to ask a customer, what is the right solution for the customer, and most importantly, I think the one use case that we are very, I won't say cracking, close to cracking, but we have invested very heavily so far is making sure that our हमारे जो sales teams हैं on ground, how can a new sales guy or an average sales guy become the smartest sales guy that is available in the country?
Okay.
Okay. Now there's a capability at X and there's a capability at 5X, right? If
Right.
within the same company, you have a 5X productivity, you have an X productivity. The big delta between 5X or X के बीच में delta क्या है? It is really about skills and knowledge, right?
Right.
Skills, again, ensuring that you have a very strong platform of learning, right? Learning management systems which are powered by these AI nudges, which
Okay.
basically says कि हमारा जो सेल्स गाय है उसके इनपुट मेट्रिक्स कैसे ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज इनपुट्स लीड टू आउटपुट. इनपुट मेट्रिक्स में कहाँ कमजोरी है,
Right.
उन कमजोरियों को पूरा करने के लिए ऑटोमेटिकली व्हाट इज द काइंड ऑफ कैपेबिलिटीज और स्किल्स दैट नीड टू बी बिल्ट विद दैट पर्सन.
Okay.
and then testing that person through a AI bot on those skills, scoring the person, making sure wherever he's behind, he gets a higher score, and therefore he's continuous learning loop,
Right.
ensuring that the input metrics go up, which will eventually lead to output metrics going up. I hope I was able to explain. That's
Yeah,
one
yeah,
part of the engine, which is
exactly.
learning experience system and powered by a very strong validation system of the learning, right?
Right.
All this connected to our internal, data lakes, which continuously powers key how is the gentleman or lady operating on the input and output parameters. The
Got
second part is everything that the enterprise knows should be available through a conversational interface to this last mile seller. Everything that the enterprise knows. There's so much of knowledge. We have a tons of knowledge on taxation, finance, how to deal with NRI clients,
right.
product, सबसे important product comparison with competition, servicing, underwriting rules. There's so much of information, right? Some of this is coded in the system. Some of this is not coded in the system as part of the journeys. Now, the advantage of having a AI powered bot, right, on with the sellers is, which is a use case that we are very close to cracking, hopefully, is that every seller doesn't need to tell the customer. I'll tell you, जो मैं उनसे बार बार बोलता हूँ, I will come back to you, हमें ban कर देना है. That is the aspiration I have for Axis
Right.
Max Life. That at no point जब एक customer एक seller से interact कर रहा हो, तो I will come back to you can't be an answer.
Right.
Now, typically, their first reflection is, sir, मेरा boss पूरे time available होना चाहिए. अगर I have to ensure that all customer queries are answered, मेरा boss, मेरा trainer, मेरा product expert, मेरा underwriting expert पूरे time कैसे available होगा, sir, कि मैं एक time पे call करूँ और हो जाए. And I
Right.
told them that this new platform that we are trying to do in a beta version, यही है आपका नया boss, यही है आपका नया trainer, यही है आपका नया underwriter, यही आपका head of products है. इस सब की इंटेलिजेंस के अंदर है. You just need to know आपको सवाल क्या पूछने. Just press the voice note and ask, my customer is asking, how is this product better than Bajaj or some other company's term insurance plan? इसका प्राइस थोड़ा ज्यादा है, तो मैं क्यों खरीदूं, ये कस्टमर पूछ रहा है, इसका मैं क्या जवाब दूं.
Right.
Enters, and there's a very smart customized script for this customer profile with these two product compared, along with the benefits of the product available and exact price comparison, and then explaining how over a long period of time X product is superior to the Y product, and a very objective conversation. So I will come back to you has to be banned. I think that's the way we are aspiring, and productivity unlocks really will happen through some of these interesting emerging use cases on distribution.
Nice. No, this is interesting because insurance is a complex product. You can't remove that human being because the customer wants to talk to a human.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as you said, there's a big difference in different types of people. In India is a big country, different requirement, different dialects, different accents across the country. So empowering the field force becomes extremely important. And there is so many plans. As a customer also, if I visit the website of any insurer, there are just too many plans. You can't expect your field force to know all of these things. So Vaibhav, moving on, you mentioned about voice to text being used for customer insights. Talk a bit about that. Talk a bit more. And
Yes.
as a follow-up question to that, a lot of companies talk about what's the ROI of implementing AI. What kind of ROI have you seen across your AI implementations and this customer insights? What has that empowered you, or implementing AI in the field force, right? What has that empowered your field force? What numbers have they unlocked? Please talk about that a bit.
बिल्कुल अमन. आई थिंक मैं आपसे शेयर करता हूँ कि हमारे लिए ना वो मोमेंट कब था जब एटलीस्ट वी ऑल डिसाइडेड जॉइंटली बिटवीन मी एंड माय टीम कि यार इस तरह तो नहीं चला पाएंगे हम. एंड आई टेल यू दैट होता है ना, कभी कभी वो मोमेंट आता है कि यार इस तरह तो नहीं चल पाएगा, दैट फीलिंग. So we were doing a standard sales review, and I told, and we were not having a great quarter. I think this is about a year back, maybe 1.5 years back. And I asked, यार मुझे ना जाके I want to just don't tell anyone. है ना, I will just, what I'll do is I'll चुपचाप go to the telesales floor, and we had a reasonably large telecalling engine, and I will just walk through the floor to understand हो क्या रहा है, just to, and don't tell कि I'm coming and all that ताम झाम नहीं करना. So I just walked onto the floor along with a couple of folks from my team. I went on. So आपको पता है जैसे होता है सेल्स में, एक टेलीकॉलर होता है, सेट ऑफ टेलीकॉलर्स रिपोर्ट टू अ टीम लीडर, a
Right.
set of team leaders report to a sales manager reports to process owner reports to, ऐसे हायरार्की बनी होती है.
Right.
तो अब इंटरेस्टिंगली वो उनका गवर्नेंस का टाइम होता है ना, आफ्टर ऑफिस आवर्स, बिकॉज ये लोग 9:30 से 10 गवर्नेंस करते हैं, 10 o'clock कॉल शुरू करते हैं, आई थिंक आफ्टर 5:30 to 6 वो गवर्नेंस करते हैं, जहाँ पर आज कितना बिजनेस हुआ, क्या चैलेंजेस आ रहे हैं, यूजुअल कॉन्वर्सेशन दैट यू विल हैव इन sales review.
Right.
And I said, I just want to listen, yaar, ye kya ho raha hai? And I realized the conversations happening were about, sir, customer, some, when I mean, it's not important what the conversation happening. The important part was the conversation were not constructive, and I realized कि यार ये ऐसे कैसे हम business build कर पाएंगे? How will we scale, if we face this trouble? And then I said, यार आप लोग call listening तो करते होगे ना, customer क्या बोल रहा है? तो उन्होंने कहा हाँ सर करते हैं हम 2 से 3% कॉल सुनते हैं एंड दैट वाज लाइक व्हाट आई सेड यार ये तो सही बात है बिकॉज टू लिसन टू सो मेनी कॉल्स यू नीड so many QAs quality assistant and how do you generate insights and at that point I think we were and then most important part insights on what we should change on or what product should we make, what journey we should make, and you hear it from your sales teams and sales teams sometimes get colored by various elements that are happening around them, right?
Right.
And a couple of things that we deployed just didn't work. So I said यार ये ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है कि जो हम deployment कर रहे हैं वो चल क्यों नहीं रही है? Because aren't we listening to our customers? Now the question's answer was no, we are listening to our sellers who talk to their customers, right?
Okay.
And now that was the switch for me, and I said, yeah, I need to find a way of listening to the customers directly at all point in time for any conversation that happens in this, in this sales process. Ki customer sarvopari, right? And we will listen to their voice, real and direct. And that is when I think Grey Labs emerged as knight and shining armor for us. Thank you, Aman, for introducing us to this. While the speech to text platforms are plenty in the market, I think our experience with you guys has been absolutely top notch, especially in terms of the way you implement, the way your teams actually think about business before technology, right? Because our experience had been so far working with so many partners कि वो बेचारे अपने technology के champion होते हैं and they are just want कि आप मेरी technology को appreciate करो. तो unfortunately, I am not in the business of appreciating technology. I am personally in the business of doing business, right?
Correct.
And therefore, if a technology doesn't solve my business problem, it may be a great technology, but I will maybe do a LinkedIn like on it. That's the maximum I can do, right? And I think working with your teams was absolutely awesome. You guys understood our problem, our business, our challenges, deployed solutions at absolutely lightning speed. I think the one advice I could give some of my friends who are listening to this podcast and are thinking about AI use cases is over a period of time I've coming to realize that capabilities are very similar. The market में जो capabilities available है very similar सी हैं. कोई ऐसा बड़ा major breakthrough नहीं है किसी के पास कि patented solution हो किसी के पास अलग से. I think the two elements that matter is the teams that you work with. They should be your success partners as they call it, and therefore they should be invested in your success in order to continuously think and churn use cases for you. And second, I think ability to implement or customize your implementation as per the advertiser or the service provider's implementation क्योंकि काफी फर्क हो जाता है between the way some of these new age digital companies like you guys think or you guys want to implement versus the architecture that we're already operating with. And I think on both those counts I found you folks really well and you guys did a great job. तो हमारे लिए सबसे बड़ा use case, immediate use case तो वो यही था कि let's put a complete speech to text enablement across all our touch points on telecalling and start generating insights, start doing so all our quality assurances. Finally, we were able to rate or objectively assess all our sales processes on 100% of calls in terms of the quality, conversion. We knew a certain set of callers or certain set of sales pitches that convert versus don't convert, and what don't convert, what is the three things that don't work. For example, we always knew intuitively, but it came out that claims paid ratio is a very powerful element that needs to be brought out in a term insurance conversation. We realized that we used to be overemphasized as an insurance company on the profile of the customer. इतनी income, salaried, top city, इस तरह की education, ऐसा customer आएगा ना तो बहुत अच्छी sale होगी.
Okay.
What we realized was actually, and you guys taught us through this voice to text analysis, was that it is the first 90 to 120 seconds sales conversation that pretty much decides, whether the propensity to convert. It is more powerful than the profile of the customer. Now that completely changed the way we think because we said now who you are, say kahin zyada important hai what did you do on the platform, right? Or what did you speak there, right? So the intent capturing mechanism was not just about journey, but also about what the customer is speaking, right? Or what is the customer's big challenge in terms of understanding the product or service. I think the use case that I thought was a big game changer for us was that the chase that we do to our prospects, right, in terms of WhatsApp, SMS, emails, they always used to be very templated and standardized depending on where did the customer drop off. Now suddenly we were able to embed in the creative that I use for Chase, not just where did you drop off, but what did you conversation you had with the caller. So it became very contextual, and suddenly the click rate on our Chase messages went through the roof. So our overall conversion actually, especially on the investment business and even on the term business, has gone up almost by 25-30% thanks to some of these deployments. So really, we've had our bang for the buck actually completely vasoolod, as they say, vasool ho gaya मान लिया तो investment. But I think bot calling. I thought we are being slightly more conservative. We are trying to think that because it's a regulatory industry, so we are trying to be very calibrated about how we go, especially in a life insurance. Typically in a general insurance, क्या होता है? It's not that complex product, so you can deploy very quickly bot calling. But on life, we are working with you guys and trying to see how do we balance all elements. Beyond that, I think there are multiple use cases being tested in terms of agent activation, in terms of performance reviews. The one that I shared with you in terms of making our last mile seller the smartest. But really, for us, the voice to text or speech to text implementation had two large benefits. One, honest insights backed by consumer, which led to our product design changes. So we've recently made a change in our investment our ULIP product, simply because we clearly picked up in our voice to text platform that a certain charge structure was leading to customer objections.
Right.
So we said, let's solve it. No, it's now clear, right? It's in your mind, in your face. And the second one was in terms of conversion improvement by leveraging these insights to have the right journey, have right sales pitches deployed. I think as we move forward, the use case that I am very excited about, at least in the online business, is starting from recruitment of a new telecaller
Okay.
to onboarding of the telecaller to the launch of the telecaller on the floor.
Right.
Everything has to be controlled by an AI bot, right?
Nice.
Who do we recruit? I think the qualitative aspects have to go out of the roof. The bot that has been trained so well in terms of how this sees with more data coming into our platforms, our engine is becoming smarter in terms of what doesn't work, right? In terms of modulation, speech, how you converse, what are the elements that consumers typically prefer, and that is such a boon. If at recruitment stage itself you can filter out that these are the 5 that has a higher propensity to success versus the next 3, right? And then when they get launched on the floor, their entire training happens on a bot, and they have actually interacted with real life consumer scenarios before they are launched on the floor. Suddenly they are set up for success much early. So I think accelerating the success journey of a sales guy is a very, very critical use case that we will be deploying very soon, I think, with you folks.
Yes, yes, we are also very excited about it. So, apart from what you mentioned, the ramping up phase, we've also heard feedback from the market that the churn in call center is very high. People leave, in 6 months, 12 months. I know companies where in 6 months the churn is 100%. So that is one area where you keep on hiring new people just to meet the demands, and then also you have to meet the growth of the organization as per next year plans, etc. So
Absolutely.
that is where this can fit in. And on your point about the customer insights, so what I have seen is that most of the companies, when they audit these call recordings, it's majorly from a compliance standpoint. They don't really look at whether the telecaller actually pitched the right product or not, were they engaging the customer or not. It's more focused on, did they do mis-selling, did they ask for CVV OTP. So the audit is very heavily on compliance and not on the quality and experience of the customer side of it.
Absolutely. Agree,
That's
totally agree.
Yeah, that's where I think uh, moving it from agent side to the customer side, that changes the game. That's what we have seen.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, buddy.
Yes, this is very interesting. So as you implement AI in your organization, we have dealt with your data security teams. We know the rigidity, we know the rigor with which our systems are audited. So what are your thoughts on compliance, risks, data security angles? Is there fear in the organization for implementing AI? Like, what's the general perception?
Well, it's interesting. I just had a very long chat with my chief risk officer, some a very close friend and someone I respect a lot, actually, an expert on the industry. And yesterday we had a very long, discussion around an internal AI risk policy that we've just about to implement because. Obviously, see, we are a regulated industry. Financial services is always regulated, and compliance is most critical and most important. It's simply non-negotiable. So I think some of the uh, guardrails around information security, in terms of usage of AI, in terms of preventing hallucination, in terms of see, because in our business, a verbal commitment on a call is as good as a commitment, right?
Yeah.
If the bot hallucinates and ends up committing a wrong premium, I mean, imagine the reputational risk that the enterprise has to
True.
face, right? So clearly, compliance is most critical. We are very, 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 I must say, sensitive to ensuring that the deployments happen in the most compliant manner with all InfoSec elements in place, data security elements in place, ensuring it's most of the action happens on-prem instead of off-prem.
Right.
So I think there is no two way about it that for a category industry like financial services, compliance, InfoSec, and security protocols will be extremely important. And I think that's where I would look up to partners like you folks to actually up the game in terms of ensuring that all those guardrails are actually not just in place, but you come and recommend to us incremental guardrails that should be in place. Because see, at the heart of it, my mental model is always been that, at least our mental model is AI in the background, humans at the moment of truth. So really, AI has to be advisory. The decision making should really be done by the humans. I still feel in the financial services.
Nice. Interesting. So I will, I would conclude with one last question. Uh, if I am a part of an insurance company uh, which has not done too much on AI, like we're beginning our AI journey, what would be your advice to me?
I think the advice will be very simple that because the moment you choose to go this route, you will get bombarded by number of people or number of partners who will pitch to you, right? And in my mind, before you go on that journey, what the enterprise or the insurance company should do is first prioritize the top five most critical use cases that you
Okay.
want to solve. And I'll tell you, my experience tells me there are two ways of typically choosing a use case. One, actually three ways. One is lowest hanging fruit, right? Which is what is the easiest or the fastest to deploy in terms of an AI use case.
Okay.
Second is मेरे पड़ोसी ने किया है, the peer pressure route, right?
Right.
Someone in Policy Bazaar or Axis Max Life or XYZ company, they have used this, they have deployed this. You just went through a case study, someone told you about it, you said, "Arey, I'm missing out, FOMO," right? That's the second. The third one is being very dispassionate and objective about this conversation, saying what are the top three or four problems that insurance company is trying to solve, right?
Right.
Whether it is for the customer, whether it is for the distributor or for the shareholder, and then look at it that within these four problems, is there a AI use case out there to be explored and deployed? My bias after this journey has been that go for the route three. It might be more painful, but the belief building will be much easier
Right.
because the barriers to deployments or barriers to this route will be someone about having information security protocols or compliance checks. Technology is already bombarded with so much of work, they will not have bandwidth of this integration because integration is a heavy duty work, right?
Right.
Then uh, getting your existing teams bandwidth and pulling them out to do some of these pods, right? And therefore route the option A, option B, and option C, the first two options will always have that challenge. Is the CBA strong enough in option A? Option
Yeah.
B, it worked for them, might not work for us. Let's
Correct.
look at it. Option C, this is my problem. I have to
Exactly.
solve it. It's my top three problems. And therefore, the alignment on purpose at an enterprise level among leaders and therefore the execution team becomes very quick. So my advice would be दर्द भरा है, थोड़ा लंबा लगेगा, पेशेंस लगेगी, लेकिन this is if I was to start that journey again, this is the way I would actually go about it. That go with a problem that you really want to solve instead of a problem that is solvable and you want to replicate, even though it might not be your top problem. I don't know if I made sense.
No, no, absolutely. I think that's the idea, right? You work backwards. It's like people look at technology forward. I always encourage even the young entrepreneurs who are starting, look for the customer pain points and then work backwards to build a solution. And that's what you're referring to in the third approach, right? Because copy pasting might be different. You may have different set of problems, the size, scale, the culture, DNA of the organization, and if somebody else blindly replicates that, they may be a very different kind of company, right?
Absolutely.
So totally makes sense. So thank you so much, Vaibhav. This was
Cheers,
very
cheers,
insightful
Aman.
conversation. I learned a lot about in the initial part when you were explaining your job role and other things. I was mind blown with some of the things. So very exciting. So
Yo,
looking
man.
forward, we'll do more
Cheers,
such
cheers.
conversations. I'm sure this was useful for the audience. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much
thank you.
once again for joining us.
Cheers, Aman. Cheers, Siddharth. Thank you very much.
Thank you.